Welcome back to the 6th Gear Garage. Last time, I removed the bed and pulled the rest of the miscellaneous parts off of the frame of this Southern 1980 Toyota long bed pickup. I rolled the frame outside to give it a bath, and look at this. The bottom third of the frame is full of dirt. I mean, it's better than the tiny, rusty pieces of frame like the Ohio trucks have. Some of the light dirt came off easily with the pressure washer. Some of the heavy dirt, possibly mixed with oil and or grease, was not coming off at all. Chocolate milk! Out of both ends. And I just kept doing this for about 10 minutes. Eventually, it cleared up after all of the dirt was washed out. I let it dry and rolled it back in the garage to finish stripping down the frame. Let's see how the inside of the tank looks. Not bad. A little dirty. And there's definitely something rattling around in there. Okay, there it is. Is that a 1/2-inch socket extension? Let's see if I can fish it out. And it is. It's like a, 1/2-inch to 3/4-inch socket adapter. How in the world did that get in there? Hey, I like free tools. There's some gold right there. I wonder how old that gas is. That's the original shock that was on the truck from the factory, Toyota, Japan. And I think it's time to send him to the grave. Fluid's a little bit low, but there is some fluid in there. We'll see if there's any kind of metal chunks here in a second. Oh, this looks really nice. Real clean. Got some real fine metal here, but nothing bad at all. So I say we have a good rear end. With all of the parts removed from the frame, I rolled it outside for another power washing. I really needed to clean the underside of the frame, especially around the crossmember area. I figured I'd unbolt the rear leaf springs, and then the leaves and the rear axle would stay in the ground, so the frame would be light enough for me to lift it up and lean against the pole. However, the front pins were seized in the bushings, so that meant I would need to burn out the rubber bushing to allow the pins to slide out and unbolt the leaves. But I just didn't have enough fire. So the underside of the frame is by far the dirtiest part still. So my plan was to pull off the front suspension, take off a lot of weight, disconnect the leaf springs, roll the axle back, flip the whole thing up, and lean it up against this basketball pole here. However, I didn't get too far. The rear bolts came out just fine, but these front pins are completely seized inside the bushing, and I got this one out after a lot of hitting to the point where I probably mashed up the end of the nut. I got to move maybe 1/8 of an inch. Getting a little smoky in here. You don't want to breathe this, by the way. Nope, she's not ready to come out yet. I'll let this burn for a while. Hear that crackle? That's a good bushing fire right there. Nope, not yet. I should probably go get some marshmallows and make some s'mores. She did not want to come out of there. Now I could finally stand the frame up on its side and have a direct shot at all of the grease and dirt that collected on the underside of the frame over the last 43 years. Now I'm spraying any remaining areas that still have paint on them with some paint stripper. All right, after some more power washing, I did spray off all of the paint that I applied the paint stripper to, and now I have pretty much bare metal. It started to surface rust here in a couple spots, but a rust inhibitor such as POR 15 or pretty much any of them on the market, they actually bond better to a light rusty surface such as this. You don't want thick, bumpy, scaly rust, but sort of smooth rust like this. This will be okay too. But on any areas of shiny, smooth bare metal, such as this, I'm gonna have to apply some prep and ready spray, and this will actually etch the metal and give it something for the rust inhibitor to bite to. I let the prep and ready sit on the bare metal surface according to the instructions, and then gave it one more wash with a pressure washer, and then brought it in to fully dry. The frame is now ready to be painted. You can see I've got some cardboard on the floor because what I'm going to use will get on the concrete and not come off easily. So the product I'm going to use here is a POR 15 alternative. It's called RustProof MD. And what I like about this over the POR 15 is that it is UV resistant. So it's not gonna get dull and fade and peel over time on the outside of the frame where it sees sunlight like the POR 15 will. So I'll give this a try and we'll see how it holds up. Not that this frame is ever gonna see road salt ever again, so I'm sure it'll be fine. And to do that, I've got some throwaway brushes. I got a smaller one that I cut the handle off of to get up in the tight areas up inside the frame, underneath and stuff like that. Stir stick, and you want to use a separate container, not actually use it out of the original bucket, because I want to keep the lid on this when it's not in use to try and preserve this product. I'm already going to have a fun time opening this because I did use this once before on my Acura TSX a couple years back, so we'll see if I can even open this without destroying the whole lid. Between using the metal prep to etch the bare metal, and then I just went over it again and again with a spray bottle full of water, probably about, 8 times, once every maybe half hour, and that caused the rest of the surface to get a light surface rust on it. So now this is ideal for this product to bite into. And the rest of the frame is just this light surface rust, and that's perfect as well. It just doesn't adhere well to bare metal, but if your metal looks like this, then it should be good to go. I'm gonna start off front here and see how far back I can get, because I am gonna be doing some cutting on the frame right here, because this is gonna be lower when it's all done. So I got a mini C-notch kit here to weld into that part of the frame. So even if I do paint back this far, I'll just skip over this section right here and here and do all that at the very end when everything's all welded in. I was gonna wait till the lowering leaves come in and I get a better welder. The leaves are lost somewhere in the mail, and I'm still waiting on the welder. So I wanna hold the whole project up just because of that. And the directions are pretty much the same as POR 15. Apply one thin coat, allow it to dry 2 to 5 hours, and then apply a second thin coat. Minimum of 2 coats recommended. I'll probably just do 2, and we'll see how it looks. I'd rather not have to do a third, but we'll see how thick this stuff is. And of course, the lid is sealed to the can, which isn't unusual. So I'll just use an old school can opener here. You know what? I've already got a hole over here. Probably from the last time I had this problem. tape over these holes for now to keep it airtight. And let's go paint. I started with the inside areas first because they're tougher to reach. I'd rather lay under the outer frame rails before painting them just in case I catch some drips. For the frame rails, I prefer to paint the top first, followed by the sides, and then brush the bottom last. This way, if there are any heavy runs from the top that run down the edge, I'm able to brush them in at the bottom and help prevent drips on the floor, as well as stalactites on the inner side of the frame. Aside from spilling a huge puddle on the floor a second ago, I wasn't using nearly as much of the RustProof MD as I thought I would have needed. It doesn't look very thick, but it actually covers very well. So I painted the whole frame. All right, the first coat is done. I actually got started on the second coat. Figured I'd stop and give you guys an update. First of all, I thought about wearing gloves and I forgot about it, so my hand's gonna be black for a few days. This does clean up a little bit easier than the POR 15. However, when it does start to dry in your hands, it gets very sticky. You guys might have seen I knocked the bucket over right here and some spilled off the cardboard onto the concrete. However, I wiped it up right away and it didn't even stay in the concrete. So when it comes to doing the second coat, the main reason is just to go over any thin areas. If you look right here, you can see a little bit of rust peeking through. But overall, this goes on pretty thick for a first coat. There is some spots, you can see there's a bunch of almost like tiny bubbles right there. And I think that might be where there could have been a little bit of grease or something on the frame that contaminated it. On the cross member here, where I had stripped the paint off completely, you can see there are some spots where it just didn't really adhere to the clean metal that well. So I'll have to go and make sure I get those touched up on the second coat. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I did leave this part unpainted right here, as well as on this side, because I'm gonna be cutting that area out. But now it's time to apply the second coat, especially on some of these thin areas here that I showed you up front. The second coat goes a lot faster and uses a lot less product because I'm painting over a smooth surface, which is pretty much almost sealed from the first coat. Because of that, runs and drips are going to be more likely on the second coat. So it's important not to go so heavy if that's something you want to avoid. Also notice I've had the garage doors open the entire time I've been painting because this coating does have a strong smell. All right, it's been 6 days since I painted the frame and the paint has fully cured now. And we're gonna test how tough this actually is. I'm just gonna give it some scratches with a screwdriver and see if it goes through. There, you can see right there I chipped through, and that's doing some pretty good abuse to it. You can see the springs did arrive, so I can almost get to work on doing the rear, except I'm still waiting on the welder. Funny story about that, we'll get to that at the end of the video. I've got another problem up here though. The next video on this truck was gonna be putting together the front suspension because I'm using all the control arms from a 1991, as well as the ball joints, which should be compatible with the steering. However, I've hit one bump in the road. The torsion bar brackets. These are from the 1980 and they are the wrong size. You can see here, the hole in the control arm is about almost an inch more inward. And not only is that the problem, but these are so much longer that they don't actually sit flush because the control arm bends out here. So I couldn't even like drill another hole or drill a hole in this and get it to line up and be flush. So I've been on the hunt for a set of 84 to 1988, maybe even up to 1991, two-wheel drive torsion bar brackets. Can't find them anywhere. And unfortunately, I did not think I needed the ones from the white truck, and they have been scrapped. I mean, they were all crusty anyways. So if anybody has a set of these brackets from an 84 to maybe up to 91, let me know. I'd be more than happy to pay you for them, have them shipped to Ohio, and I can get on with this project. But I need it for these control arms because these control arms will allow me to use the drop spindles, which are for 84 to 95, and those are not compatible with the 1979 to 1983 control arms. But we'll go over all that in the next video once I do get the rest of the pieces to this puzzle. And here's a close-up of the finish of the paint. You can see I definitely have some runs and drips and all that. They go really fast down the side. That's why I was saying I paint the top first, then the sides, and then the bottom, so any extra runs will end up on the bottom, which is the last part I would brush. But you can see there are still a lot of runs because that second coat was extra quick to run because the surface was already sealed and smooth from the first coat. So if these little stalactites bother you, you may want to take your time and do a better job than I did, but I don't mind that. What I do like is having a frame that's now 100% sealed that I know is not going to rust in the future. So I think I'm going to have to take a break from this project until I get those missing pieces that I need and maybe do some work on another vehicle. Like I said, I can't weld this yet because, well, I'll show you. This big box when I came home from Michigan, and inside was digital keyboards. So I thought maybe that was like part of the welder or something. No, it's actual keyboards. I got 5 keyboards instead of the 200 amp welder. They did say they were gonna send like some free gifts. I was thinking maybe like a t-shirt. I don't know if this is, what am I supposed to give these away? I don't know. I'm gonna contact them, figure out what's going on. But for the near future, I'm still short a welder. So that's it for today. I'm really happy with the results, and hopefully I'll be able to dive back into this project soon. Thanks for watching.